What's going on, everybody? Kipp here with Omnia Fishing. And the scenery around us is a little bit different than typical. We're not in the studio. We're actually out on the water on the infamous Mississippi River chasing some smallies. And a great way to catch smallies in the fall is with a Ned Rig. So Ned Rig works for largemouth, smallmouth, spotted bass, any time of the year. But I found a lot of my success in the river systems, dragging a Ned Rig over rocks, finding current breaks. It's just an easy meal for any species of bass, but smallies in particular love it. So I want to go through the rods I like. I've got two different styles of Ned Rig rods I throw. The reels, line, tackle, baits, everything that you need to go out, throw a Ned Rig and catch fish. So we're going to start with the rods. Like I said, I got two for you. My day in and day out rod that I choose is, now one thing I have to preface is that we're out on my boat. We're using my rods, my reels. I don't have everything that we've got in the store, so I don't have access to everything we've got in the warehouse. Some of this stuff isn't going to be stuff we carry. Some of it's old, discontinued, but we'll leave links for similar products that will do the exact same thing for you. But this rod we actually do have in the store. This is a Daiwa Tatula. It's the standard cork version. It's about a $150 rod. This is the 7.3 medium. They call it a drop shot rod. I think you can do way more than that. In fact, if I was going to throw a drop shot on this, it would be a Texas rig drop shot. It's got a lot more power than that. But something like a 7.3 medium with a fast or an extra fast action is like the perfect all-around Ned Rig rod. It gives you a length where you can make a long cast, but it's short enough where you can get around cover and be really effective. So this is the first rod I'd recommend. And I guess we'll go over the reel too. It's going to be very similar for the other one, but I'd recommend going with a 4,000 size reel. I know that sounds big, but with a 4,000 size reel, your diameter, your spool diameter is bigger. It manages a line a lot better. You're not going to have as many wind knots, line twist, and it also is going to have a bigger drag stack, so you have a smoother drag. Yes, they weigh a little bit more, but honestly, on a spinning rod, it balances most rods out super nicely anyway. So a 4,000 size reel, it takes a little bit of getting used to, but it's definitely my favorite for most finesse presentations nowadays. So that's my first rod I'd go with. The next one, this one we definitely don't carry. This is an old rod. This is a Daiwa Kronos, but it's a 7.6 medium light. The reason I want a rod like this for some scenarios is if I'm trying to make a long cast away from the boat. A 7.6 rod gives me, you can load up an 1/8 ounce jig head and cast it a mile. So if I'm fishing offshore or just need to make a long cast in clear water, I want a 7.6 medium light or a medium even is going to get the nod for me. This again is a 4,000 size reel. It's a Daiwa Kage, but a Shimano Vanford, if you want to get real bougie, a Certate or an Exist from Daiwa. Anything, big, holds a lot of line, a big spool, is going to be a perfect reel for a Ned Rig. So we've covered rods and reels. Let's go into line, then we'll talk about baits, and we'll finish it off with jig heads that I like. So line is super simple. Typically, I'm going with a braided line to a fluorocarbon leader. This is going to be 8 or 10 pound braid. I like Suffix 832. I like Power Pro Super Slick V2. But like an 8 carrier braid that's smooth, goes through the guides well, is what you're going to want for your main line. It's more sensitive, it casts further. And then for a leader, I like to use fluorocarbon. And this is where I can't really tell you what the right answer is. It's going to depend on water clarity, the structure you're around. Like today we're on the Mississippi River. It's dirty. There's rocks everywhere. There's laydowns everywhere. I'm using 12 pound fluorocarbon on my Ned Rig. But day in and day out, I'd go with an 8 pound FC Sniper, Seaguar and VizX. Either of those are great. But 8 to 12 pound is typically gonna do most things for you. So that's really all you need for line, a good quality thin braid, and then 6 to 12 pound fluorocarbon. Some of my go-to baits for a Ned Rig. I've got 3 here. There's more. There's a bunch of good baits on the market, but one of my favorites is a Z-Man hula sticks. Z-Man, basically any of their Ned Rig baits are going to work. They're buoyant, they float, they're stretchy, so you're going to catch a bunch of fish on it. But I like this hula sticks. It's a 4-inch bait. I cut off maybe a 1/4 inch off the top, but I like that it has, you know, a little bit of movement with these tentacles on the back. So that's probably my favorite, honestly. But a couple other options are, of course, the tried and true Finesse TRD. This is perfect perch. It's a good color, but anything green pumpkin purple, green pumpkin goby is an awesome color from Z-Man. Your tried and true Finesse TRD. And then one that I've played around with a ton that I think gets a ton of bites, but they don't last as long because they're not Elastec, is this X-Zone Ned Zone. It has a buoyant tail. It's a traditional plastic. So it's your traditional plastic, but the tail portion is buoyant, so it'll still float up on the paws, and it's a really natural looking bait. But this one, unlike the Z-Man plastics, is only going to last you a fish or 2. So, you know, if you're in a tournament situation, I might lean toward this one, but if you're out fun fishing, you're catching a bunch of fish, go with the Z-Man plastic. It's going to last forever. Lastly, let's touch on jig heads. I don't have everything I want to talk about here, so I might just brush over a few. But day in and day out, my favorite Ned Rig head is going to be this Outcast Perfect Ned head. This is designed by Josh Douglas, one of the best smallmouth anglers in the world, probably. And he's a wizard with the Ned Rig. Some cool things about this Ned head. First of all, it's got a wire keeper on it. So your plastics are going to stay on, especially as an Elastec plastic is going to stay on there all day. But then a really cool thing, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but a lot of our Ned Rig plastics are designed to float. There's some don't, but most of them are designed to float, stand up on their head. I mean, a traditional Ned Rig head is pretty boxy. It's a square. What Josh and Outcast did with this is they actually rounded the corners on this jig head. So if you can imagine this being dragged on the bottom, and when it pauses, if it has a blunt end to it, it's going to be harder to get that head to float. But with this slightly rounded head and then a flat portion, it actually makes it easier to roll that head up and stand up and down. So day in and day out, I like the Outcast Perfect Ned head. They make this in a weedless version as well. That one's great too, but if I have it my way, I'm going to go with an exposed hook. A couple other great options. A cool one from VMC, I can't remember the name, I'll link it down below, but it's got a swinging head on it, so there's it's kind of a triangular head with a free swinging hook on it. That one's an awesome hook too. A more traditional Ned head is the Nedster from Northland. That has a great, I believe it's a Gamakatsu hook in it, and again, a great plastic keeper. So those are my favorite jig heads. We talked about rods, reels, line, everything you need to throw the Ned Rig. It's a great presentation all year round, but when the conditions are tough, the Ned Rig is my go-to bait. So take what you want from this video. Hopefully you learn something, go out on the water and catch more fish.